So this is 2001 to 2002, my college freshman year at Lamar. So 18 at the beginning, going on 19 at the end. Yeah, I started going to Lamar, and I took up computer science. Like I remember my mother and I being inside the main office talking to the lady or whatnot, asking what I want to become. I can't think of anything like off the top of my head, like what really want to major in. Never even really thought about it. Um, but because they asked me, I just remember Byron saying, Byron went to Arkansas. And Byron was like, I'm going to take computer science at Arkansas. So I was like, when she asked me, like off the top of my head, I was just like, yeah, I'll take I'll take computer science too, you know. And I would drive back and forth from Louisiana to Texas, and met a lot of cool people like at Lemoore, whatnot. Um, I remember like one of my days off. Uh, I woke up early, so say woke up at like 8 o'clock. Usually don't wake up till like really late on my days off of school, whatever. And I turned on the TV and I seen like airplanes going into a building. I thought it was a Die Hard movie. I was like, man, uh, they got really good with the CGI type stuff, you know, CGI, but like, like graphics or like the realism of movies, you know. And come to find out, it was actually airplanes going into the World Trade Center. And I remember a day later or 2 days later, I went to get my first tattoo of my Indian on my right arm. And the logic behind that was an Indian would get an Indian tattoo on their arm, and another race wouldn't get an Indian. So I thought I'd be like very unique and have like the only Indian tattoo or whatnot, you know, which is very wrong. Uh, yeah, so I got my right arm done first, but while I was at I went to Ricky's on Parent Lake Road, Ricky's tattoo shop, whatnot, and like a day, 2 days later, like they was still like replaying it over and over again on like the news or whatnot by the planes going inside the World Trade Center. And I just remember like this lady, she just like burst into tears, like watching it like over and over again. I really wasn't that affected by it. I knew it was like bad, like it was huge, but like I don't know, like I wasn't gonna bust out into tears. But when Bush was in Bush, yeah, when Bush was like, we're gonna attack them back, and we had like the the ships out there waiting to launch at them. I was ready. Like I was like, yeah, we got to get some payback or whatnot. Not really knowing the whole scope of the situation, and I had a really amazing arts appreciation professor who was like passionate about his job. He reminded me of Mr. Grantham from high school. Was passionate about teaching history class, and he wanted us to before that like he would like when we read stuff inside of like the book on art and stuff. Like he had a lot of like back knowledge that wasn't inside of the books or whatnot, and he would share his stories on things that he knew that wasn't inside of the book. And yeah, he had a very like vast knowledge on art. And I remember the movie he wanted us to go watch. He wanted us to go watch the Royal Tenenbaums for like extra credit. I really didn't need it, but I just thought it would be cool to like watch a movie that I probably would have never seen inside of my life. Like I had no interest in these type of movies at this time, you know. And that a girl inside my class named Shauna, and she didn't have a car at the time, and so she asked if I could pick her up. She lived um, in Texas, so I would I drove my little I drove to pick her up from her house, and then we would go watch the Royal Tenenbaums together. And my professor wanted us to write like what each character, like which character related to ourselves the most, this is for the essay for the extra credit or whatnot, and the deeper meaning of the movie than what we just seen, and like what at least like five characters like meant, like besides what's being shown inside the movie. And like from then on, I did this with every movie I watched. Like I just deep dive movies for like no reason. Like I can't get this. I can't stop it. I can't. I automatically do it, even if it's something simple as like Cinderella, or something like I'll find like a deeper meaning inside of it, just because of that one situation or whatnot. And only thing that I really hated about this guy was that we learned like all the cultures. Like went to like American arts, went to like South America art, of course like European art or whatnot. And then when we got to Asia art, but when we got to like the African art, because I remember it was like chapter nine. I always like to like if we're on chapter eight, I would study for chapter eight, memorize the majority of the stuff, and then read on the next chapter, just to be like ahead, because I was excited about what's gonna happen next. And I remember like the next chapter was about like the Harlem Renaissance and like African art. And this dude, the professor was like Hispanic or Indian. I just know he was like dark skinned with like this really curly type hair or whatever. And he was like, yeah, chapter nine. He didn't say like the name of what chapter nine is. He was like, we're just gonna skip this chapter. And I was upset. Like it didn't let me learn about the great like artists of like my culture, you know. I mean, as a kid, I didn't care. You know, it was like cool learning about like Michelangelo or like Raphael, not like the Ninja Turtles or whatnot, like Leonardo da Vinci and Picasso and all these people. But like, I wanted to know like those great people that was my skin color that did great artwork as well, and never got to learn about them. You know, but whatever. Should have went to like the dean's told him, but he was just such a great professor. I let it slide or whatnot. You know, and even though I like failed English my freshman year of high school, like I really excelled at it my freshman year of college. Like even the Texas assessment test that you have to take that's besides the ACT, um, I really excelled on the English version portion of that. Pretty much all the portions of those things. I only had to take it once and I scored pretty high on it, whatnot. And that winter, I remember Byron and RJ. They worked at the docks. I want to say like I don't know how many times, like three or four times or whatnot. And Byron told me, like, man, you make a lot of money working at the docks, you know. And because he was like on this break, I guess like his winter break from Arkansas or whatnot. And I was like, man, screw it, I'll go with him, you know. And yeah, I ended up going to the docks. And I was at the bottom of the ship, and everyone there was like used to it, you know, like they done been there like veterans, like veterans, like 3 or 4 years, you know. And the foreman, the boss guy, whatever you want to say, like looked down inside the ship, and he was like, hey, we're gonna have to take you out. And I sucked, like super sucked at throwing those 120-pound flour sacks or whatever they was. Um, and I was like, okay, let me get my stuff ready. Let me just head out of here, you know. So I know he's talking about me, and yeah, I was like, damn, they got me, you know. But that is other, I want to say like she was like a lesbian or whatnot, but very like butch, like she was like wide as me now, and like just heavy set, and she was working like super hard, you know. And they were like, you right there, whatever. Let's say like her name was Trisha. It was like, Trisha, you're gonna have to get out of there. And they sent her out the ship. And I was like, wow, you know, I was the weakest link inside there, whatnot, but whatever, you know. And eventually, of course, me being lazy, uh, like they would like throw the sacks. They had like these little hooks that would grab inside and they'll throw whatever like that. Eventually, I became the guy who grabbed the sacks and turned them sideways so they could just throw them easy or whatnot. And RJ and Byron and I went to Checkers on Prairie Lake Road to eat or whatnot. Um, I just remember like my face being like covered in like this white flour type stuff, you know. Um, and they had like the second shift. I guess you make more or whatever. Let's say like you was making like $18 an hour. You're making like 27 or like the two lines in, yeah, like $27 an hour. You know, it's like time and a half or whatnot. And yeah, I just wasn't making it back. That was my last day at the docks. It just wasn't for me being inside of a cold ship at the bottom. Um, we went to the bowling alley. Ray, Kenneth, and I all went to the bowling alley. That was like on Highway 14 down the street from my house. And I met this chick named Desiree Joe. And we exchanged numbers or whatnot, you know. And she told me she had a track meet. So let's say like it was that Saturday or whatnot. And she had a track meet like that Thursday at Iowa High School. And she was like, I really would like for you to come or whatnot. So I'm like, cool, you know. And Dennis came like a little bit later because we've been there for like a little, like an hour or two or whatnot. And Dennis had invited us like all week to go to this WrestleMania, not WrestleMania, like WWF or whatever event that was happening at the Civic Center or whatnot. And none of us really wanted to go, you know. And Dennis came inside. Met us at the bowling alley after he left the wrestling event. He was so excited because the wrestler Booker T looked at him and told him 5 times. I guess he was like the 5-time champ or something. You know, I really didn't know what it mean, but he was excited about that. And I'd asked Kenneth, Dennis, and Ray if they wanted to go with me to the chick that I met at the bowling alley, Desiree Joe, track meet in Iowa. And the only person that came was Ray. Uh, I don't know why. Kenna might have some type of church thing. I don't know, because Kenna was like a whatever guy. You know, he'll go to anything. Dennis always, if it ain't his idea, he ain't going. Yeah. But so Ray came with me, and it began to get cold. So it was like March in 2002, and it was weird for Lake Charles to get cold. And some reason I brought a jacket, and I remember like holding the jacket, like standing up watching them race or whatnot, because there was race. Lagrange was there as well, and I remember seeing my friend Minicat, Kendall. They came talk to me, and next thing you know, like a whole bunch of chicks from like Lagrange, like track meet, was like just surrounding me, you know. And then eventually, you know, Ray came, and whatnot, and then and so I remember telling the story about my dream last night. I remember Ray having this cologne. I want to say it was Candies or whatever cologne he had, but the chicks was still digging this cologne or whatnot. And yeah, eventually, like where I ended up standing at, Heather Simeon was to my left. I want to say left or right, doesn't matter. Yeah, Heather was to my left. I can see it now. And Minx Anderson was her name. She was also on the Grand Track Meet team. She was to my right and was like holding like arm to arm, whatever, like trying to get like some warmth or whatever. And I exchanged numbers with Heather Simeon. Didn't have a cell phone at this time, so I gave her my house number. And Minx wanted my phone number too, but she said she would memorize it. So I told it to her, and I don't think she ever memorized it. So yeah, I never got the call from Minx or whatnot. And needless to say, I guess Desiree could see from like the track meet, me being around all these chicks or whatnot. Yeah, she never talked to me again. So that was the last time I talked to Desiree. I see a few times at like Planet Fitness, and what else I seen? I think I seen her at Derek's wedding just recently. Um, I remember driving to Easter Sunday, and the car was coming like head on to us. You know, it was a 2 lane on going to Opelousas Park or whatnot, and so this lane was like full, and had a car like behind him, and like he tried to pass up all like the other 5 cars like in front of him, and it was no way. It was either hit a car to my left or swerve into the ditch on my right, you know? And so I tried hitting my brakes, but he was still coming forward. So eventually, I just turned to turn like a sharp right, and I went inside the ditch and was like sideways or whatnot. Ray and I, 'cause Ray was inside the passenger seat. I think Ray had to end up like climbing like out of the passenger seat, like through like the driver's door where I was at to be able to get out or whatnot. And then yeah, but I missed him, and then like everybody was passing by, a whole bunch of black people, leaving Obeliscus Park on Easter Sunday. They were just staring, just driving someone looking at the corner side of a ditch. I'm like, oh God, nobody can stop and help me, like nobody, right? And so, only person that ever stopped to help was Eddie Kennerson. He had played football for Washington Marion. Ended up playing, I guess, like for the Chiefs. I don't keep up with football, but he ended up making it to the league. And he was like side of a Benz, and like this is when like cell phones aren't like really huge, you know. He had a car phone or whatnot, and then he stopped and let us sit inside of his Benz while he called the police on his car phone or whatnot. And then the tow truck had to come get me out the ditch. I remember hitting my barber, Big Mo. That was his relatives. Because before I swerved right inside of the ditch or whatnot. Um, I I hit a mailbox, and it ended up being my cousin's Big Mo cousin mailbox or whatnot. And then yeah, luckily, I mean, the whole situation worked out pretty well because the guy that was coming head on to me, I guess he was like slightly intoxicated or whatnot, and he had like a 5 or 6 year old girl with him in the passenger seat. I want to say like it was his daughter, but he wasn't supposed to be having the right to see her, so he ended up having to take the daughter away from the guy. I would not. I don't know. I just hope the situation ended up well for her. And so that was like 20 years ago, so she got to be like 25, 26 years old by now. Hope everything went well. Um, this year, 2002, I want to say like it was like June or whatnot. Uh, June or July. I ended up buying my first cell phone from Centennial Wireless. It was like this little blue Nokia phone, and only had like Snake on this. Battery lasted like for like 10 years on these things. Like you never had to charge. It was like a brick. Like I don't know, one of the best phones. Um, but anyway, I remember I bought it from Centennial. I was so excited. It was from the Centennial side of the mall, across the way from Foot Locker is right now, and next to that jewelry store. Uh, and one day, Burn, RJ, and I want to say Dustin was there, and Ray came with me, and we was all eating at CC's Pizza for sure on Ryan Street, and I started getting scared because like we all sitting there talking and laughing and joking, and next thing you know, my thighs like started to vibrate. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? You know, this is weird. I never like felt this before. You know, and I immediately like grabbed my leg. You know, and it was it was because I had received my first cell phone call, and it was from Megan. She was, of course, she was calling me to be nosy to see what I was doing, but I felt like super important and super unimportant at the same time because I was like, man, I got a phone call, you know, a cell phone call. And the second time I was like, man, like later on that day I was like, nobody called me, like, uh, oh, like, am I just not that cool, you know? But then I thought about it. I was like, if I gave my cell phone number only to like Megan and to like Ray, who was with me, or like Kennedy and Byron, you know, who else gonna call me, you know? And so, yeah. And so that was my first experience with a cell phone. And then I remember seeing Ray. Ray was inside of my driveway, and we just sitting there talking. I want to say it was Dennis and I just sitting there talking, and Ray pulled up, and he was on a Nokia cell phone just like me or whatnot, and but the back of his phone was just lighting up like this pretty like blue color. You know, every time somebody called, like he was on the phone, like the back of his phone plate, it was like a clear back plate with like these lights or whatnot. You know, and or it might have just been his keypad one. But anyway, it was just lighting up this beautiful blue, you know. And I was like amazed by this. So of course, like the next day or two, that Saturday, whatever, I went to the mall. I got the battery pad, uh, shining blue. I got the keypad shining blue. I got the antenna shining blue, and it was all clear case, you know. And the phone like barely like if this was like the phone supposed to be closed. My phone's closed like this because like I had so much stuff packed inside of that one little cell phone, you know. And but that thing shine blue. Uh, and I remember Ray friend Chris Senegal came pick up Ray, and then he picked up Dennis and me to go to this gentleman's club in Sulphur. And Chris was driving his say like a maroon or like a red Saturn or whatever, and was like on Broad Street. And I just remember Chris saying, "Oh damn!" And then he like slowly pulls over to like the left side of Broad Street where that Chase Bank used to be. It's probably still there. I don't go down Broad Street that much, but I know it's like next to the Chase Bank or whatnot. And we were like, what? Well, it was like looking around, like what is he doing, you know? And well, the thing was, Ray knew about the blue lights. Dennis knew about the blue lights, but Chris had no clue. So I'm sitting behind Chris, and so when I received the call from Megan, of course, it just started shining up blue inside of his rearview mirror. So he thought it was the cops pulling him over, and yeah, so he turned around, and I was like, "That's my," it was like, "That's my cell phone. It's not the cops." And he was like, "Put that damn phone away." Yeah, so it was my little. I know another time we looked at the phone was I was at Dennis' apartment, and Cole, his roommate Cole at the time, lived like down the hallway, and so I took my phone and I slid it down. That thing lit up the whole like apartment hallway and like some of like the living room or whatnot. And yeah, so they were living together whatnot, and I remember like before they moved in, which is probably like about a week before this situation. Dennis had asked me to help him move inside of inside their new apartment, and we were passing the Charlestonians. Like these are really nice apartments or whatnot, you know. And Dennis like 19, Cole's like 18 or whatever, you know. And or Dennis 18, whatever, how the numbers work. And so we was passing the Charlestonians because you have to pass the Charlestonians to get to Pecan Acres or whatnot. And Dennis was like, "Yeah, our apartment's really nice, huh?" And I was looking at these apartments. I'm like, "Man, these dudes are rich, you know." And yeah, Dennis was like, "Yeah, they nice, but yeah, we live back here inside like the little smaller, cheap apartments called Pecan Acres." I ain't gonna lie, I felt like a little bit of envy inside when he told me this movie was the Charlestonians, you know. And um, yeah, that was that whole situation. There was this what else? Oh yeah, I remember Ray got into it with like some of these guys from Huber Park. I guess him, Quinn Quincy, all went to like a baseball game earlier that day at Mid City or whatnot. And then he got into some other guys, you know. And so I guess they wanted to fight him, meet me back here at Huber Park at blah 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 time, old school fighting words, you know. And Dennis was like, I mean Ray was like, I'm gonna get Jared, Dennis, and the other third guy that went to that school named Desmond. He was like, "Bro, like it's only gonna be like two dudes there. I just need y'all to look like real big and kind of scare them two dudes off. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna handle the rest." So I'm like, "Okay, cool. All we gotta do is go there, look big." And he was like, "I'm gonna get y'all Burger King. Everybody get a meal." I'm like, "Okay, cool. You know, we'll go. You know." So he came and got us all. You know, well we drove. Dennis drove his car. I drove my car, and Desmond drove his car all to Huber Park that night. Once it was like about, it was dark, so it had to been like 8 or 9 o'clock, you know, because it's like summertime, and whatnot. And then bro, we walk in there, and next thing you know, we see like the whole dugout. It was like filled with dudes. So that's been at least a baseball team have about at least like 15, 10 to 15 people. So it's like 15 dudes on this dude's side sitting there compared to the two that he told us was going to be there. And he was standing on the pitcher's mound. Then they had like three other guys walking with like a bat. And he was like, oh. He was hitting his bat up against his hand. He was like, they really want something. And I was like, bro, I'm about to just run. You know, it's no way I could take on like 18 dudes like Dennis and Desmond, Ray. Ray weighed like 90 pounds at best. Desmond weighed like 110 pounds. Dennis weighed like 300 pounds. Uh, yeah, it was no hope. Even if they all weighed 80 pounds, it was enough for them to take all of us. And so Ray went to the pitcher's mound and started talking to the guy. And I wish I could have been a fly on that pitcher's mound and listen to what Ray had to say because somehow he got out of it. And Ray walked back to us. He was like, everything cool or whatnot. Ray's a slick talker, so pretty much, I don't know what he said, but I don't know. It was probably a whole bunch of lies wrapped up, and it made sense to that guy, you know? But yeah, needless to say, went to Burger King, was waiting on our combos that we never seen because Ray was like, oh, all right, we at Burger King. He said, Desmond, Dennis, and Jared, y'all can all get like a small fry. I'm like, bruh. So, yeah, that was the whole Hubert Park situation and whatnot. And I remember Barney came back, I guess, like for the summertime, you know, home from Arkansas where he was going to college at. And Byron and I was just doing our usual thing, just talking in front of my parents' house or whatnot. And we seen this white Rav4, and immediately we already knew it was Megan. You know, Megan dad had a white Rav4 or whatnot, and she was using that as her car. You know, and so the car stopped. She stopped like 100 feet to the left of us or whatnot. You know, and we clearly see it's her. We could clearly see it's her white Rav4. You know, but we was like, okay, that's Megan. I don't know what she's doing here, but whatever. You know. And she turned off that front headlights like she was about to do like a drive-by or something. I'm like, this girl is freaking nuts, man. And so she slowly passes by. She goes like 10 miles per hour. And then with the windows up and everything, she just stares at us like this. And then she like goes all the way to like, she didn't say like one word, didn't text me like I'm about to pass by your house or I'm just seeing what you're doing. Nothing. She just drove by slow without saying like one word. And then we were like, okay. Then she went like to the end of the road on like the right side, with like the fire department, whatever it was. And then she turns around and then she drives back in front of us like 10 miles per hour. It doesn't say anything. And she passes us to get like that back to that 100 feet, like towards like the left side or whatnot. And then she just burns off. She doesn't send a text message. She doesn't send anything. Doesn't even justify it like the next day. Like just Megan being Megan, you know. And what was fun? Oh, I remember the time we used to hang out. Dennis worked at Funko Land, now GameStop, whatever you want to call it. And so one night Ray had found out about this party on 18th Street, and so Dennis, Ray, Ken, and I was already at Funko Land, and I told Ray all I was at because he wanted me to go to the party with him. Then him and I went to Walmart and bought like those. That was my favorite little candies. Those like PTOs, those little gummy things that you could get. You know, like the sour gummy worms or whatnot. I remember passing in front of one of the guys who pooled with, Mr. Jack, and Ray was with me. I told him, hey, whatever, like that, and Mrs. Jack could smell like Ray from like a mile away because Ray used to wear this cologne called Issey Miyake, but he used to put that thing on strong, you know. I think he had the oil that he rubbed into his skin or whatnot, but it was very heavy, you know. And yeah, we all met back up at Funko Land, and then we all drove out to the 18th Street party. And I remember like a fight broke out outside, and like black people, I want to say the N word, but we ran towards the fight, you know, instead of running away from the fight. And I remember Kenna ran away from the fight to his car, and he sped off. And I remember Ray being like super worried because he didn't see Kenneth leave or whatnot. He was like, "Where's my brother?" That was like the first time I've seen Ray worried about Kenneth. I'm not saying he didn't care about him. That was the first time I've seen him like physically care. And yeah, we watched this one dude get beat badly, man. Like he was in the ditch, and there was like three guys, and they just kept like punching him whatnot. And like they put his face was inside the little they had like this much of water inside that ditch, and he was face down. It was like, oh, he's about to drown or whatever like that. They took his head out the water and was still beating on him. One dude said, "Kiss my phone." He took his phone and just hit him on like the side of his face, and that the black, of course, they had the all black girls, and one girl was talking a lot, and then the other chick was like, "Oh, you want to fight?" Blah blah blah, and then she looked at her close. She's like, "Oh, you my cousin." And this is a whole bunch of blackery going on inside that situation, whatever like that. But I remember leaving, and then we all drove to. We got in touch with Kenna, and Kenna was parked in front of Kroger's parking lot. I don't know why he just didn't go home or whatnot, but yeah, Kenna was like, "I wasn't staying there to get to see." Yeah, we could have got shot, but that was a cool little situation. Um, I remember being hired at Harris Casino because my cousin, Mrs. Cynthia, worked in HR, and I met Travis. I'm gonna screw up his name. It's like Heisser. Travis Hauser, Heiser. I don't know. Something close to that. But he was in my orientation, and just so happened we was both going to valet, and he was in this truck club. So I remember bragging about it called Midnight Fantasy or Fantasy Midnight. I don't know, something close to that. And also, I won these digital dice like from orientation. It cost me a lot of money. It was like this little purple circle, and when you hit it against something, it generates like a dice number, like 1 through 6 on one die, And Rand and I would gamble with these things. I'm talking about like big money. I mean, big money for us at the time, like $20, $100 bills. I was losing sometimes $200 a night, and whoever had the highest number, like I would hit it. Let's say like 3 comes up, Ray would hit it. If a 4 comes up, then he would win the money, whatever money that was sitting there, whatnot. And I'm pretty sure Ray found a trick to the situation because yeah, I ended up losing a lot, and I just had to end up quitting, whatever. And I had a supervisor named Chad who just didn't like me. I don't know if it was racist or whatever. I don't know. He just didn't like me. I still don't know why. But one day I fell asleep inside the boot because I was working the boot. That's why I was hired on at valet to write the numbers on the boot numbers or whatever. And surveillance recorded me. I was knocked out. I was just because I was working like 12 to like 8 or something like that. And yeah, I was gone. And he did everything he could. Like he went to surveillance, sat next to them while they hit record, turned it into HR, just ready to get me fired. And next day he comes like a day later or whatever when I come back to work. He was like, "I don't know what kind of angel you have, but you're supposed to be fired now." Like, what are you talking about? He's like, "I recorded you sleeping. I turned it into HR, and somehow HR miraculously lost the video clip." And I'm pretty sure Ms. Jacinta, thank you, was the one who miraculously lost this clip. But yeah, um, and just to get more credits, I went to McNeese for their summer course. Instead of like driving back and forth to Lamar, I just went to Magnesia. And because at the end of the day, I wanted to ultimately go to University of Houston, and you required like 24 credits that could be transferred in order to go to there. So I wanted to get as many credits as I can. And but like at the end of the 2 semesters at Lamar, I kind of really wanted to stop going to Lamar and kind of give up my U of H dreams because like I just wanted to be around my friends, and just go to McNeese because that felt like really good. It's going driving like 10 miles to go to school versus driving all the way to Texas to go to Lamar. And like while I was going to McNeese, I was still staying at my parents' house or whatnot. And then, so Dennis Carr couldn't make it all the way to Natchitoches. His sister was having like this cheerleading event or whatnot. And in Natchitoches, and so he asked me, he was like, man, his mother was out here, his Uncle Butch was out here, and his mom had like a pewter, like one of those brownish, light brownish Tahoes at that time, and she was driving back to Shreveport, but she wasn't gonna drive to Shreveport. I mean, to Natchitoches to go see his sister thing, but she wasn't gonna drive to Natchitoches and then back. So I was like, cool, I'll roll. And so Kenneth, Dennis, and I jumped inside of my little Nissan Sentra, and we drove behind his mother's Tahoe and whatnot. And I remember um, his mom got us lost, and she didn't know where we were at. And but we ended up stopping by this McDonald's, and like just to show you, like I feel like if I buy somebody McDonald's, they don't even owe me a thank you. It's only like $8 or $10. But like at that time, like she bought us McDonald's, I swore she gave us like each $100 bill or whatnot. And we was listening to Usher album 8701. I know I had the mix of Nas, One Mic, Nelly, and some other artists. It was just a fun time. And I remember getting excited about a song, and I took my soda cup for no reason, and I threw it out the window. Like I'm on the driving, and I throw it out the window. Well, the littering god seen it, and the wind hit the cup when I threw it out, and it came back and hit me in my face. But luckily, it was some Sprite because, like, if it was Coke, like I had on like a white shirt, and like these light blue jeans and no change of clothes. So, yeah, if it had been Coke, I'd have just had brown stuff all over my brown stains all over my body or whatnot. But yeah, luckily it was a Sprite, and it didn't do too much damage. And we made it to the family house in Natchitoches, and oh my God, they had this beautiful cousin. Jesus Christ! So I guess it's like his aunt or whatever the lady was, her daughter, or whatnot. And yeah, I don't know why I brought that up, but yeah, I just remember it being beautiful. But I remember my mom calling. That killed that whole situation. My mom was like, Jerry, you have school in the morning. Where you at? She still thought I was in South Lake Charles. And I was like, God, voice started cracking. I was like, I'm in Natchitoches. And she was like, Natchitoches? She's like, what you doing way out of town on a school night? She was like, um, she was mad. She was like, what time you gonna be home then? I was like, even if I was to drive home now, I wouldn't make it back till like 4 a.m., because it's a long drive. And I was like, I just gotta miss school tomorrow. And yeah, she didn't agree with that, but she really couldn't say much about it. And I just remember we was inside the living room sweating hard, like they had like this black leather couch, cause like we was gonna catch the living room, and everybody else had the bedrooms or whatnot. And we were up at like 5 a.m. just hot. Who was that? Dennis wanted to claim the couch, and then Ken and I was smart enough to know that heat rises. So and that black leather couch wasn't any help. So we was on the floor. Eventually, Dennis got on the floor or whatnot, and we just couldn't sleep because it was too hot. I remember Dennis kept saying his uncle or his cousin, whatever, about to come get him at like 6 a.m. to go fishing or whatnot. I don't think that ever happened. Um, but the rest of the people inside the house, they woke up like just refreshed. And we were like, man, y'all wasn't hot. And they was like, no. They said it was pretty cold last night. Come to find out, their family, what they do is since everybody sleeps inside the bedrooms, they close the vents to the living room at a certain time. And we had no clue the vents was closed. They had no clue the vents was closed. So there was no air blowing inside the living room. So man, it was about like 90 degrees. Uh, just just hot. And yeah, they made a mistake of not keeping the vent open or whatnot. And we left for the cheerleading event. It was at Northwestern State University. it was pretty where they lived at because it was like their house was on this side, and then across the street was like this beautiful pond. I remember us saying, "Look, Dennis family over there chilling," because at the time it was cool to call a lame person a duck. And it was just like just ducks swimming and whatnot. Yeah, random memory, whatever. So I ended up going to Northwestern State University, whatever. And once we arrived, we was tired, man, because we didn't sleep that night. And it was a bunch of like beautiful cheerleaders, like college, high school, having this like one big event, whatever, like that. Us, I want to say like, how was it? Either Dennis was in the middle, Kenna was laying like on his right shoulder, I was laying on like his left shoulder, looking, I don't know, looking weird, but we did not care because it was cold inside there. It was a perfect place to fall asleep. So we just like slept through that whole event or whatnot. And I remember like at the end of the event, we were still like tired. I remember seeing this chick that looked like Megan, and yeah, she was one of the cheerleaders. Probably the only thing I remember from that whole event because like I was knocked out, and we made it back to the cousin's house, and I knew I couldn't miss 2 days of school. Like my mom would have drove to Natchitoches. My mom would have drove to Natchitoches with a belt. Like so, I was like, man, I gotta get it. I gotta get back home, bro. Oh, but but I needed a nap, so I went under a tree. Even though it was hot, it had like a little bit of shade or whatnot, and I just slept under that tree for at least an hour. Kenna and Dennis napped somewhere, I don't know, but all I know, I was sleeping under the tree. I remember waking up and I couldn't find my keys, and I looked everywhere. Like I was like, did I lock them in the car? And then Tank dad, Dennis' dad named Tank, he was like, do you think you locked him in the car? I was like maybe I locked him in the car or whatnot. And this man did like everything he could. He got like a hanger, he got like sticks. This dude was working for like 30, 45 minutes to get my car unlocked so I could get the keys from inside, so we could leave or whatnot. And then he had asked him like 3 or 4 times, like, have you check your pockets? You check like, is it on you anywhere? And I was like, yeah, I checked. I'm super tired. And then I was like, they're not there. They got to be inside the car. And when I looked inside the car, I'm like looking around, and I couldn't see the keys or whatnot. And then next thing you know, I like some reason made me dig inside my pocket, and I felt the keys there, and I was like, shit. I was like, I was like, I can't just be like, man, it was inside my pocket the whole time. This man just did all this work. And then so I was like, oh, here they go. They was on the floor, and I must have dropped them off of my lap when I got back inside the car or not. Um, so I was still like super grouchy because that little hour nap under the tree wasn't enough. Plus that little 2 hour whatever nap at Northwestern wasn't enough because I'm used to getting like 8 hours of sleep or whatnot. And then so I'm grouchy. Anytime I'm sleepy, I'm grouchy. I don't like it doesn't matter. Like anything ticks me off. And so Dennis had like this little stupid pencil drawing he had made, like a shortcut to get from Natchitoches back to Lake Charles, save like 30 minutes to an hour or whatnot. And then like we passed this random street that had nothing to do with anything. Dennis was like, I think that's a shortcut. This looked like the little thing that's drawn on my paper. And it wasn't no Google Maps. It wasn't no map. It was literally a drawing of a road curving off. We'd have probably took that road, probably end up in Alabama somewhere. And it just ticked me off. Like I became like super grouchy. Like after I heard him say that, and then I was like, the road looked like every other road we just passed by, or whatever like that. And I said, man, talk to Kenneth. And Kenneth was inside the back seat, knocked out, man. And then I was like, nah, I can't sleep. Nobody's sleeping. So I turned on the heater. It's like midsummer. It's probably like 90 degrees outside. And I turned on the heater like on 90. So it was even hotter. So Kenneth woke up, and I was like, talk to Kenneth, man. And then that's like before he even woke up. I was having to talk to the sleeping dude, you know. And then so I wasn't about to be stuck for hours listening to Dennis' whole crazy thoughts, you know. But yeah, still all in all, that was a really fun trip, you know. And I remember that summer also, 2002, Byron's sister Dina got married, and I ended up going to the reception. I didn't go to the wedding, but I ended up going to the reception at the Civic Center. And Byron had got this hotel room for like a party at the Best Suites, which is like downtown across from like the Civic Center. I don't know what it's called now, but I know at the time it was called Best Suites or whatnot. And he asked everybody he knew, like Dustin, RJ, me, Ray, Kenneth, invite invite as many chicks as y'all know. You know, we just gonna have. I got the hotel room. We just gonna have a party, whatever, like that. And everyone knew like I'm not about to invite my main chick or some chicks I know, and y'all don't bring anybody. You know. And so we're just relying on everybody else to bring like some females or whatever. And everyone except Dennis. Everyone except Dennis knew the rules, and Dennis ended up bringing like one of his main females. He brought Ashley Touche, and it was Byrne, RJ, and Dustin. It was already there. I remember RJ. Because Byron used to make fun of him because RJ ran back because he was like standing in the weirdest positions to talk on the phone. I want to say he was still dating Crystal at this time. Maybe it was Crystal on the phone with, but he was like standing like one foot on like the bed and like the other foot like on like the headboard, just in a random position. And so those three was there before. Then Dennis, Kenneth, and I came, and then Ray and his homeboy came from his job. They work at Finish Line. I never knew the guy. I just knew he was like light skinned, like these like Chinese eyes, whatever. And he worked at Finish Line, and he had like these two Chinese letters on the back of his each one of his triceps, like on the back of his arms or whatnot. And I just remember like so it was 332, so 8 guys there, and this one little white chick named Ashley Touche, and everybody wanted Ashley, of course, you know, she's the only chick there, you know, and so they tried to trick Dennis because Dennis was being like extra protective of Ashley, or whatever, and we tried to get Dennis downstairs and let Ashley stay upstairs or whatnot, and so we tricked him by saying he couldn't beat Byron in a foot race. And then it was like, I have the advantage. He says, well, Byron doesn't know. I'm flat footed, which is probably a huge disadvantage or whatnot. So Byron, Kenneth, Dennis, and I all go downstairs. I want to say Dustin, RJ, Ray, and his other homeboy from Finish Line end up staying upstairs with Ashley or whatnot. And of course, Byron beat him in a foot race. You know, Byron been playing football since freaking high school and could do freaking jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and all kind of stuff. You know, but yeah. So once we made it back upstairs, nothing happened with them or whatnot. Very respectable girl. And I had to leave early because I had to go to work that night at Harris. But they all stayed and spent the night. And yeah, that was enough for me. And I remember Dennis, Kennedy, and I all went to the 4th of July. And for some reason, again, Dennis invited one of his main chicks, Morgan, with him. And so Kennedy and I separated from Dennis and Morgan because you don't bring sand to a beach. He was going there 4 females, and he brought a female with him, you know. And we ended up meeting up with this chick named Kiba and her two friends. Like I don't know if they probably still have it. Behind the civic center, there's these steps that's like near the water where you could like fish at, and they were down there. So Ken and I just went there and we talked to them or whatnot. And eventually Dennis came, but Morgan was like, "Oh, it's time to go." I don't know if like too many dudes trying to holler at Morgan and not respecting him being like right next to her, but yeah, he needed to go. I remember a song, I'm gonna say Styles P, I Get High, it was out. Uh, yeah, but it ended up being a pretty cool little night. Dennis being Big Brother D to Morgan and whatnot. I don't know the whole situation. I've asked him even still to this day, whatever. And ending the summer, Kenneth and I went um, to Houston to get him a CD player for his car. And I just remember like heavy rotation. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a rap station, R&B station, country station, rock and roll station. Every single station, like the whole rock, was like, and the number one song on the radio. Doesn't even have a CD player yet, and is Nelly and Kelly Dilemma. I was like, God damn. Like the song was cool, but man, that was getting old. And Dennis bought this. I mean, not Dennis. Kendall bought this cheap CD player called Soundstorm. And the whole ride home, every time it touched a freaking like a little rock or something like that, it would hit a bump, and it would skip on the CD or whatnot. And yeah, that was pretty much my whole summer day of 2001, 2002.